The search for Michael Vaughn continues. Michael went missing from his neighborhood in Fruitland in July of 2021. He was just 5 years old at the time. Law enforcement has spent the last year and a half investigating. But the Fruitland police chief says a credible tip led investigators to a home near Michael's neighborhood this weekend.
Crews are back out in Fruitland today searching for Michael Vaughn. Police believe his remains are in the backyard of a Fruitland home, and today is the 6th day crews are excavating the yard. Crews could be at the house on Red Wing Street for another week. This house is just 4 minutes from the Vaughn's home.
As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughn could be found in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Stacey Wondra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wondras' home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains. Although the remains of Michael Vaughn were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wondras' residence. The search was productive, and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed.
Evidence suggests that the following individuals who are currently in custody are involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Stacey Wondra, 35 years old. Sarah lives at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Sarah has firsthand knowledge and is involved in Michael's abduction. Stacey Wondra is currently being held at the Payette County Jail for failing to report a death to law enforcement. And Stacey Wondra, 30 years old, a male. Stacy was also living at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Stacy has firsthand knowledge and is involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Brandon Shirtliff, 30 years old, of Kuna, Idaho. Brandon was living with Sarah and Stacey Wondra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance, and we believe Brandon has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction. Adrian Lucian, 32-year-old male out of Toledo, Ohio. Adrian was staying with Sarah and Stacey Wondra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance, and we believe that Adrian has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction.
The search for Michael Vaughn continues.
Hey everybody, how is everybody doing today? Woo! Welcome to part 9 of Stacey Wondra's YouTube shit show. Thank you guys all for coming in. It is so good to see everybody. It is Monday, March 24th. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it is the 24th, 2025. Halo Art, nice to see you. Jazzy Jewel, Lady Spitfire. Oh my gosh, I love it. Yaya, Callie, Ray, AV, Cinnamon, Hot, Jen, Rizzo. My goodness, so many people are in here. Thank you guys so much. Tooth Fairy's here. Thank you. Hot Mess, Jen, Rhiannon. Thank you guys all so much. Buckeye Mama, Sally Mae. Good to see so many familiar faces. Thank you, mods, for coming in. Hair Curlers in Crime. Best name on the YouTube street. Absolutely love it. I know I saw somebody in here. Where'd it go? There it is. Brandy Lee Robb is already being an amazing person. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing support. Thank you guys all for coming in and showing Michael support and the Vaughn family support. Not a Drama Nana, thank you for coming in. Slim's in the house. Yaya, good to see you. Thank you, Samantha, for all of your hard work and dedication to finding answers and the truth. Oh, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. I can't do it without all of you. Purple is in the house. Thank you for coming in. I noticed that she put up the link. If anybody wants to buy a sweatshirt, you can get a zipped up hoodie, a pullover hoodie, a hat. There are coffee mugs. There are water cups. All kinds of goodies. To click that link and all the proceeds are going to Monkey's project. Brandy actually told me a little bit of that last night on the telephone, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait for all of that to be done. Callie, good to see you. Ruby Slippers. Yes, they have zippies too. Yes, zippy hoodies. And the colors are like blue, pink, black. It was a really large variety of stuff. I loved it. I know that you can also click a link for the mill train, and in the mill train, the family's no longer taking anybody to sign up to like bring the family food until after Brandy has her surgery. So Beach Bum Forever, thank you for coming in. Linda Marie, hi. So you know, you can do a Visa card on the mill train so that they can pay their bills, or they can go do their own grocery shopping, or you can pick from one of the different restaurants or one of the cards that has multiple restaurants, so that they can do DoorDash and stuff like that. So yeah, it is Monday. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling that it's a Monday? I was feeling like it was a Monday. I had such an amazing day yesterday. I have to tell you guys all about it. Blue Heron, thank you for coming in, hon. Have to tell you guys about this experience because me and my husband, we love eating out. Shannon, I see you, hon. Thank you for coming in. we love going out for dinner. We love new things. We love experiencing things. And we went to this place yesterday for our date, because I told my husband I need to like disconnect from social media sometime this weekend, spend a full day and just relax. So we left here early afternoon and we went over to this restaurant called Hot Pot Palace and Barbecue. And when you get into the restaurant, you can see this variety of stuff, like an all you can eat kind of buffet thing, but it has like vegetables of all different kinds of like Chinese vegetables and stuff, seafood, meat. I'm talking like thin slices of Wagyu. Oh my gosh, there were scallops, oysters, clams, shrimp, everything's raw. So everything you pick out's all raw. You go down, you sit at the table, and they bring you the menu, and you have the choice between like all of these different broths. I love soup. I am a soup woman. I will make a soup out of any leftover or make a soup out of anything, especially if I got a bunch of stuff. Hey, hot mess. Especially if I've got a bunch of stuff in the refrigerator and I'm just like, I don't even know what to make. Like, I just make soup. So you can pick from all these different varieties of different broths. We picked one that had like a medium spice. So it was kind of almost kind of in a way like a Cajun spice. And then we picked another one that had like mushroom and chicken broth. And what you do is you go with a platter, you go to their sauce station. I got like sesame seed oil, soy sauce, peanut sauce. You can get vinegar and like tahini, hoisin, just all of this variety of different sauces. And then you take those back to your table and then you go pick up all your vegetables and all your meat. And when you sit down, you're putting your vegetables and your meat either on this little grill that's on your table to grill your meats up. And you can put vegetables, and even like the Cajun one, I put crab, shrimp, scallops, clams inside of that and kind of made it like a Cajun seafood dish. And then with the other mushroom broth, I did like bok choy and some other cabbage and broccoli, and I added my chicken into it, and everything cooks up. And then you use all of these utensils that they have to get everything out of the broth. You put some of it in a bowl, and you can go get noodles, rice noodles, or the udon noodles, or just all. It was amazing. And for me, I absolutely loved it because I stay pretty low carb because of my diabetes, and I didn't have to have the rice and I didn't have to have the noodles, but my husband was in noodle heaven just because we don't eat noodles very much. He's in noodle heaven, and I am just digging that I can eat like all these vegetables, all this meat, and I'm staying so low carb. And oh my God, it was like one of the best things me and my husband has ate in a long time. And even though it was spendy, I'm telling my husband, like, we got to come back, and he's so excited, and we're going to eventually go back. And now I got to bring, my kids with me and just let them experience, because even though it costs a little bit, well, it costs a lot, but it wasn't just for the food, it was for the experience. It was a super, super nice place, super clean, and they give you an hour and a half, and then you got to go because it's kind of a little restaurant. But yeah, I enjoyed, like, the waitresses were just really super nice. The place was nice. It was really relaxing to just be able to take your time, grill your food at your dinner table. Hey, Patchwork and Pudding, thank you for coming in. Yeah, so we had an amazing time, and it was so nice. I love food, so that was amazing. I think it was like $45 or $50 a person. But Then we left there and we went to the bakery, and I totally fell off the low carb diet, but it was part of my plan. Have this super, super, super low carb dinner and then go by like some kind of really cool bakery and grab something, because I usually don't eat bread or anything either. So we were just trying to get out, enjoy ourselves, enjoy our time together, you know, cruising around the city and just, you know, enjoying things. So that was my Sunday. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend, because my weekend was amazing. Yeah, it was hot pot. You can look it up. There's all different kinds of hot pot places to go. But that was awesome because you got to pick out, like, we love seafood. So, but back to all of this, and Michael Joseph Vaughn. Michael Vaughn was abducted July 27th of 2021 from his neighborhood, right around the corner from his house. And there are 4 suspects, named suspects, in Michael's abduction and murder. And that is Sarah Wondra, Stacey Wondra, Brandon Shirtliff, and Adrian Lucian. And that they were updated January 10th of 2025. They are all still suspects. And we're just looking for anybody that has a tip to come in. We're just looking to bring Michael awareness. So please share his flyer. You can call the tip line anonymously. There is over $52,000 reward for any information leading to Michael, or information, you know, yeah, just leading to Michael, right? And these 4 suspects know so much, and yet the family still has no answers. They still have questions. And they need the answers that they deserve. If you have a tip, please call 208-642-6006, or you can email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is too small or too big. Call, email, let law enforcement decide if your tip is a good, credible tip or not. And remember that you can be Monkey's hero. You can be this family's hero. The Vaughn family needs to know what happened to their son. They want Michael to come home. One of these suspects kidnapped Monkey. One of these suspects murdered Michael. One of these suspects buried Michael in the backyard of the Wondras' house. And one of these suspects moved Michael to an unknown location. Michael has still not been found. He was 5 years old. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful boy. And it's just so sad that there are people that have knowledge about where he is and what happened, and yet there has still not been justice for the family and peace for the family or for Michael. And Michael will get justice. We're Monkey's Army. We're never going to stop. We're never going to stop asking questions. We're never going to stop talking about the suspects. We're never going to stop. Monkey's Army will always, always be here to support the Vaughn family and to bring awareness for Michael Joseph Vaughn. He deserves justice. No 5-year-old little boy deserves what happened to him. And it's just very disheartening to know that none of these suspects has found it in their heart to talk about what they know. Stacy has came forward and he has said a lot, but it's that one thing that we're waiting for. Where is Michael Vaughn? Where's Monkey? Again, if you have a tip about Michael's abduction, If you know anything about one of these 4 suspects, if you've heard anything out on the streets, you know something, please let law enforcement decide whether or not it's a credible tip, and please call 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. There's so much you can do to help the family. There's the meal train. You can order, things, sweatshirts, hats, coffee mugs, water cups, hats, all different colors. There's just so many things you can do to support the family. But I do know one thing. Brandy and the Vaughn family would love it if you shared a flyer of Michael, if you told Michael's story, and just keep telling Michael's story, because that's what's important. The DA has told the Vaughn family that charges are coming against all 4 of these suspects. When those charges come, we need Fruitland, Idaho to never forget Michael. We need all of Idaho, all of the world to know about Michael and his story. It's very important when proceedings are going on in court that nobody forgets him. Matter of fact, sometimes I just wish I lived in the area. I could do so much in the area. So if you live in the area and you have any ideas, if you're posting flyers, that's amazing. You can talk to people everywhere you go, remind them of Michael, hang up the flyers in the store, sharing on your social media. If you live in the Fruitland or in Idaho area, just keep sharing. And if you aren't in the area, if you post a flyer, tag Fruitland, Idaho or Idaho, it just keeps Monkey's name out there, keeps his face out there. And I love this flyer and other flyers that have been made now with the suspect's face on it. I just think that it's really important that people see the faces of these 4 suspects when you are sharing and bringing awareness, in case that's what triggers the memory. A memory of something that they've said or done or heard or anything. So tip line is 208-642-6006, or you can email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is too big or small. You can remain anonymous. And there is a reward over $52,000 to collect for any information leading to Michael Vaughn. We're never going to stop. We're here, and nobody can make us go away. Hey, Mama, good to see you in here. Brandy Neal Vaughn is in the house, and she says, have a great evening, everyone. I am heading back out on my rock, cutting date with my bugs. Take care of yourselves. Please keep sharing Michael's beautiful face. And we will. We'll never, ever stop sharing Michael for you, sweetheart, and your family. We're praying for you and your health every single day. We love you. We love the family. We love Michael. And we're Monkey's Army and Brandy Strong. Thank you for coming in and saying hi to everybody. I know everybody here loves seeing you when you come in. Take care of you and get some rest. And yeah. Thank you for a great conversation last night. Just dropping in to show love from the Vaughn family. Thank you all for being here for Michael. We'll always be here for Michael. I don't see any other faces coming in right now. Oh, Psychosocial, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. All right, so we are going to finish our watching the interview that Stacy did with Hidden True Crime. I have the link I'll put in chat, and then if one of the mods want to copy and paste that to keep sharing it throughout the live, I would really appreciate it. Please don't forget to click that notification, because I do go live spur of the moment sometimes. Hey, Connie, good to see you, hun. And yeah, what else was I gonna say? Oh, thumbs up, get this out in the algorithm for Michael, so his story is being shared everywhere. And I got my pen and paper. I got some coconut creamer in my iced coffee that's absolutely amazing, and I am ready to do this. Thank you, Connie, for sharing. Yes, the Fruitland Police Department is actively investigating this case and encourages the public to come forward with any information that might help find Michael. All right, I have that already pulled up. Oh, gotta share my screen. Hold on. It's up. And we are an hour and 20 minutes already into this. Purple, when are you going live? It's like it's almost exactly 4 o'clock my time. I just want to get off of here before you go live. Send everybody over to you. I know your central time. I think you said last night 6:30, but 2 hours. Okay. Well, it shouldn't take us that long. We're an hour and 20 minutes into a 2 hour and 30 minute. If it does take any longer, I'm just going to cut it short so we can all go join Purple. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, that'll be 6 o'clock my time. And hubby's picking up food on the way home, so I ain't even got to worry about that. So let's hop right into this. Okay. Here we go.
Checking the timestamp. 3:23 p.m. is when I was at A&W.
I did rewind just a little bit. Oh, wow. And I missed this too because he's talking about that A&W that so many people had a question about. One of our the last live, we were talking about the fact that there was an inconsistency on which A&W he went to. I didn't speak on it because I was confused and didn't understand. All I know is that he said he was at one A&W when he wasn't there. He was actually at another one, and other creators were able to find that out because of the brick that was on the A&W restaurant. And they compared the picture, the selfie that he took of himself at that A&W. And yeah, we were able to figure out which A&W it was. And I'm still to this day not sure which A&W it was where he was actually at. So if anybody else knows that, I would be curious to know.
And really allowing people to share their experience, their lens, and what they have, so we can all get a better understanding of.
Stacy fell off right here at this part, but I wanted to rewind right before he came back.
What's happening.
I agree. And that's okay. And all I can do is just say to people, there are things I can say right now and there are things I can't say. And that's all I can say.
So
Thanks,
3:23 p.m. That's what I was doing. I was checking the timestamp. 3:23 p.m. is when I was at A&W.
Okay. But okay.
So that's kind of important if you want to believe him or not. 3:23 p.m. actually gives us a time of his timeline in the afternoon. which we all know there's like this huge giant gap. We know he was at the splash pad at 1:30. We know he's getting home sometime like 4 to 5 o'clock. You know, what's going on in between all of that. He talks about Labor Days and then stops talking about Labor Days. He talks about having his taxi ride, going to the Boise airport, going to Labor Days, picking up a second taxi ride at an apartment complex, getting a prescription at Albertsons. The Albertsons actually in Payette, where Brandy works, talks about an AMW. And we know from his phone information that he sat at a park for over 2 hours in Payette at a skate park too. So the more we watch all of these, it seems like we're getting a better idea of, you know, a timeline here, but it's just what's true and what isn't true, right? Kelly says, didn't he say he was in the one on Ontario, but was actually in Payette? I just know he was at a skate park for 2 hours. Right. And thank you, Jemima, for coming in. Google Maps still showing their address from September 2021 and Brandon car parked on the road outside the Starkey's house. Oh, well, that's interesting. Julia, thank you for coming in. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was in Ontario and then changed to Payette, or was it Ontario and then an A&W in Fruitland. I don't know. I need to look into this a little bit more so that we do know the story, because that's one thing it's really confused me.
Around. So, and what were Brandon and Adrian? Where were Brandon and Adrian at this time? Because they were also dubbed persons of interest, or I think persons of interest by police, maybe suspects. I don't know. What were in
Adrian wasn't even home. He never came back.
Right.
He stayed in Nampa and Boise that whole night.
Do you think he could have come back without you knowing, or do you feel certain he was there?
No, I know he was gone. Oh my God.
You okay?
Yeah, getting blown up with phone calls. No, I know for certain he wasn't even at our house. He wasn't even in the area. He didn't have a vehicle, you know what I mean? So he had no way to even get back to Fruitland that night.
Okay. So then that would mean that you would be you would be law enforcement's main suspect then, because you were there, right? Or you and Sarah? I'm just trying to understand, how were you made a suspect, like kind of like the main one?
I'm appalled. I have no idea. It doesn't make sense, because I have timestamps of our whereabouts that night. And
we talked about our last live, how he's all of a sudden towards the end of these interviews that he's doing with people up on YouTube, that he all of a sudden starts, I got timestamps. I got timestamps. I got timestamps. A lot of people have speculated on whether or not the timestamps or the time in his phone, dates in his phone were actually messed with. And if that's why he's just like, I got timestamps all of a sudden. Because he doesn't offer any of that in the beginning at all. And now all of a sudden he wants to talk about that. And he wants to bring up the fact that Adrian was either in Boise or Nampa, when he knows, when he's doing these interviews, that Adrian was in Nampa, and even later goes on to say on my panel that Adrian was there at the house that night. Brandon says the same thing. One of the things that they do both agree on and are saying now is that Adrian was at the house the night that Michael was abducted. Is that because they want to try pinning it on Adrian because Adrian says that he was set up? I don't know. We don't know. We're not privileged to any of that information. But their stories changed about where Adrian was the day that Michael disappeared. I'm asked myself why. Why is that part of the story changing?
when we left, what time we got back in the neighborhood, Nothing adds up. There's no a person does not pass a polygraph test, and I mean, you don't just get a false positive polygraph. It doesn't happen like that. You can fail a polygraph test, but to get a false positive polygraph test doesn't match up.
Yeah, I haven't seen your polygraph test. I want to say to audiences, the viewers, I haven't seen it. I don't know about your polygraph
No,
test.
and I specifically remember getting the polygraph done, and I literally remember the tester that gave the test or the polygraph to me after he got done submitting the results, because he had to get he had to send them off to I guess he said Washington D.C. because they have like their forensic people there that read those. He said that he came back in and he goes, "How do you feel you did?" And I said, "I was honest. I know I passed it." So, and so he goes, exactly. He goes, "I know."
There, suspicious in the house. Hello, hello. Good to see you, hun.
You passed. He goes, "You did pass it." So I mean, I was.
Jemima, he says that he took that polygraph test in. So Sarah went to jail April of 2022, and he said she throws him under the bus and tells law enforcement that he sold that GUN at the pawn shop, and then he gets in trouble in March of 2022, and when he is arrested on those and brought in, he says that that's when he was given the polygraph. He said mid-March. I think he even said March 19th, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, and he also says his mom told him that he passed it. And he also is going to say right here that the polygrapher himself told him, but they can't even do that. They can't, tell the people that they give these polygraphs to, the results. They have to look at them for long periods of time to even know. There's no way. He's lying about this.
Told by the polygraph tester and also detectives. That's why they stopped interrogating or questioning me that day, because I had passed the polygraph test.
So when you say you passed it, does that mean there was no deception on any question, or does that mean, like, what does that mean when you pass a polygraph test?
No, it means you pass a polygraph test, like you have not lied on any question that they have asked you.
And did Adrian and Sarah and Brandon, did they all pass theirs too?
Adrian never did a polygraph.
Kelly, from what I understand, he says it was in March of 2022, because Brooks even asked him, "Oh, so it was before you gave the tip?" And he says yes. And it happened right after him and Sarah both got arrested in April and March. Yeah, when they did the polygraphs. But that doesn't mean that it's true either, because it's coming out of Stacy's mouth. I'm just saying what Stacy says.
Polygraph, to my knowledge, I know Sarah and Brandon did. I was told two different things. I was told they passed, and I was told they didn't pass. So I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but I'm not gonna also. Again, I'm being an upfront person, and I'm not going to say they passed or they didn't pass, because I don't know. I just what I'm being told. So,
so you guys aren't in contact anymore, like Sarah and like you. Sarah,
I don't talk. Sarah's in prison.
Okay.
And Brandon, I want nothing to do with him or Adrian. I'm not cool with them at all.
Okay. Is it because of this investigation and things they've said, or is it?
No, just because Brandon, just the way he's treated me, and like, what he was doing behind my back with Sarah after, you know, it was supposed to stop. I'm not okay with any of it.
Yeah. It just seems like, I don't know, it's kind of confusing to me a little bit because like you knew that he was having these relationships with your wife, but then you're also like being nice and like going to get his car for him and you're going to fix it for him and you're towing it. Like that's hard on your vehicle and the gas money it takes to get there and just all the other things. So it's like, I'm just trying to figure out when that friendship really deteriorated, because obviously at some point you guys were really close friends. You were willing to let him live at your house. You were, you know, he was doing inappropriate things with your wife. So, I mean, at some point it really crumbled. And so I was just trying to figure out like, what was the straw that
Broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Honestly, just having a lot of time. I had 18 months to think about it. And I just wasn't good with it. You know, I mean, I realized that he really wasn't there to be my friend as much as he was trying to get with my wife. And, you know, I just wasn't okay with it anymore. And I didn't want to take part in it. You know, Brandon and I have had good times. We had some bad times, but, you know, just for the best of everything, I just don't want nothing to do with him.
Well, do you think Brandon could have done it then and is framing you?
I have no idea. Again, we were all gone that night. So that's why nothing adds up. Like nothing adds up as how that would even become possible.
It just seems like if things were going well and there was a love triangle, maybe, I mean, do you think he's turned on you with police?
Brandon?
Yeah.
He'd have nothing to turn on me with. I wasn't even part of this.
Well, trying to frame you is what I mean. Framing you. Do you think?
I mean,
do you think he could have done something?
I don't see Brandon doing something like that. No. Just like I didn't see Sarah ever doing something like that. I didn't see.
Oh, he slipped a little bit right there. I didn't ever see Sarah doing something like that. The way he just said that almost makes it sound like he knew Sarah did it. I'm going to rewind a little bit right there. See what you guys think.
Maybe, I mean, do you think he's turned on you with police?
Brandon?
Yeah.
He'd have nothing to turn on me with. I wasn't even part of this.
Well, trying to frame you is what I mean. Framing you.
Here it comes. He'll talk about Brandon framing, and then he's going to talk about Sarah. The way he says it, something.
Do you think?
I mean,
do you think he could have done something?
I don't see Brandon doing something like that. No. Just like
I need to turn on closed caption. That's what we're missing. Here we go. Something I don't see Brandon doing something like that. No, just like I didn't
see Sarah ever doing something like that.
I didn't see Sarah ever doing something like that. Isn't that saying that Sarah did do something like that? I didn't see Sarah ever doing something like that. That sounds really like Sarah did something and he knows it. Wow, that's a big one. If you've got your pen and paper like I do, this is at 1 hour, 27 minutes, 36 seconds. This is a big slip, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Is it a slip? Is it a... Yeah, right? Boom. Yes. Yep. Yeah. That's a big slip. I didn't see Sarah ever doing something like... I mean, I wonder if he tries to cover that up, too. Let's see.
I wouldn't see.
Oh, he starts. Oh, yeah. I want to rewind just a little bit more so we can hear it all on a full sentence here.
I don't see Brandon doing something like that. No. Just like I didn't see Sarah ever doing something like that. I wouldn't see Adrian do.
Yeah, he kind of like starts fumbling his words right there too, because he knows he just messed up. We can't say he's lying for now and then say others aren't for also knowing. We can say Stacey Wondra is a liar. He has proved himself to be a liar. Everything he says contradicts something else that he has said.
Doing something like that. Well, Adrian could be questionable.
Then he doesn't think that Adrian would have anything to do with it, but Adrian could be questionable. So he first doesn't and then throws Adrian under the bus right there. But it's such a huge slip with, I didn't think Sarah would ever do something like that. That's straight up saying she did.
Given his, what I've been told by detectives about his history, but Brandon and Sarah, I wouldn't have even had a
Hey,
thought.
Mama.
So I don't really have a response to that, to be honest. Like, I don't know what to think.
After A&W, Sterling pointed out that I'll read it. Actually, I started this. This was important. I did want to clear this up.
Mm-hmm.
Sterling said, so A&W is at 3:30 and it's an hour and a half drive to get home. Would that get you back to the location at about 5 p.m. ish, or what? Can you clarify that kind of timeline for us?
A&W is in Ontario, Sterling. So it takes to go from Ontario to Fruitland is about maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on which part of Ontario you're in.
Okay. Where was the 45-minute drive then? It wasn't
coming back home.
Okay. So the A&W was in Fruitland.
They have an A&W in Fruitland, and they have an A&W in Ontario.
Where was this A&W then?
In Ontario. That's what I said.
Gotcha. But it's 15 minutes. So where did you go? I understand what you're saying, and I thought Ontario was really close too, but you went someplace and it was a 45-minute to an hour and a half drive. Where was that?
Oh, that was the night before. That was the day before we went fishing at Hawaii.
Wow, he's been so nice to Lauren during this entire interview up till now, and now he's like copping attitude right here. No, that was the night before, because he can't respect women. He just cannot do it. He just talks so horribly to the women when he's being reviewed by them.
Reservoir.
Okay.
Hey, Mama B.
So you're home at about. So what time were you home then after A&W? So what time did you get home?
Probably about 4 o'clock if I had to put a time on it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you went straight home? Like, did you see any children?
Anywhere. No.
Okay. And you never saw Michael?
I've never seen that face a day in my life.
Okay. And then until he was missing, you mean?
Correct. Correct. When he went missing, yes. But before that, I didn't know he existed.
No, we do not have proof that there was a polygraph done. There's really no way to find out whether there was or wasn't. Only him saying that, he had a polygraph, which he lies so much, we just don't know if he's actually telling the truth or not, or whether he did, or whether or not he's saying, he's saying that he passed and that they did it, and we don't know the truth on that either, because it's coming out of his mouth. He lies about everything.
Didn't know there was a family that was around the neighborhood that existed. Like, I didn't have any clue. Sarah and I didn't really associate with our neighbors. We kind of
exactly, Lana.
Our neighborhood people, we kind of kept by away. I don't say away from, but like we didn't really meet a whole lot of our neighbors. Like outside the neighborhood, we were aware of some of the people that were around the neighborhood in our neighborhood subdivision.
Yeah,
but Monkey lived on a whole separate side of the separate subdivision. Like, you have to drive across the other side of 8th Street.
It makes it sound like their house and the Vaughn's house are so far away from each other when it's not. It's just blocks. It's like a 4-minute walk. It's like not even a quarter of a mile. It's not that far away. The way he talks about the subdivisions and everything, I do realize that they are separated by the subdivisions, but the way he says it almost makes it sound like it's just so far away from their house.
Yeah. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought yesterday when you were talking to my husband, you might have said you got home around 5 or 6. But what were you doing from 4 to 8? Sam Evans is asking.
4 p.m. to 8 p.m. was when I got back. We had dinner. And then Brandon and Sarah and me all wanted to go, I didn't want to go, but I did it because he had been bugging us to go get his vehicle. So we left to about, I want to say, I don't know. Again, these time frames are all speculated, hypothetical, because I don't have verbatim time frames other than the time frames.
The whole separate side would be when where the Vaughns used to live. Across is where the Vaughns live now. Well, they live in the same spot now as they did when Monkey disappeared. It is across from the Wondra subdivision, which I can't remember the name of their subdivision now, but when you leave it, the Vaughn house is literally right across from the field kitty corner, right there. 9th in Arizona.
To show when we were in CUNA and the route we took, etc. So I just want to point that out for people because there's a lot of people that question the timing and everything. So that's what just let you know, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I respect that because, you're thinking back to, 2021, 2021. I respect that. But but then to play devil's advocate, I kind of want to say it's really important. It's kind of everything because we're now getting to the moment, Michael disappeared. And it's probably, even though it was so long ago, it's like one of the most kind of important moments to, I think, really show where you were and that you weren't, in any place you could have taken Michael. And I get if you don't know, you don't know, but it would definitely be a sure bet to get police off your back, right? Like if you had a sure alibi.
Well, the police already have all this. That's why I haven't been charged.
Oh my God, for frig's sake. No, they don't. They don't have. You are a suspect in Michael Vaughn's abduction because evidence proves that you have knowledge, that you have something to do with Michael's abduction. They don't have anything. And he swears to God that they're seen on 8th in Arizona by CCTV cameras. No, when they pull over to the side of the road and they get that power steering, fluid, that's what they're supposedly doing there on 8th in Arizona. And they say that's what they're doing. He tries to say that CCTV saw that. If they had saw that and had CCTV cameras in that area on 8th in Arizona, they would know who took Michael. But they don't have CCTV camera in that area. It's not until you get all the way almost out of the subdivision, out off of 8th Street going, east. That's why they see him sitting at the splash pad at 1:30, because the CCTVs are all the way at the end of 8th. They are not down Washington or over by Washington and Arizona.
It's
Yeah. Right. You haven't been charged. Stacy has not been charged with anything. He's not been cleared, but he's not been charged. So I think you know, I'm just trying to help you out, Stacy. Honestly,
Uh-huh.
like people are looking at you. We're not the first interview you did. People brought that up. You've done podcast interviews. You've been doing them, and I'm here trying to help you.
I know.
Like,
No.
because gosh, if you want to say, look, I'm innocent and it's about time the police clear me, getting this kind of alibi solidified is like, it's kind of like the priority, right? Like, you've got an alibi. That's okay. There you go. There you go. Like, we're done. Like, you're innocent. So this is me kind of trying to like help you be like, gosh, let's get this figured out. Like, so what you're saying is did you pack a duffel bag too to go to CUNA?
No,
Was that something? No.
Brandon had a bunch of dirty clothes because he brought his clothes initially from CUNA. Had some dirty clothes. I watched him grab because he stayed on the couch. Brandon always slept on the couch. So watched him grab his duffel bag before we left. It was open, nothing in it, completely empty, and watched him put all of his dirty clothes inside the duffel bag and zip it up.
Okay.
And
so that night, the night that Monkey went missing, there was a duffel bag. How big was it? How big was the duffel bag?
It was small. I mean, it was not a giant duffel bag. This duffel bag that had like a shoulder strap on it.
And we've heard him talk about this duffel bag before. He says duffel bag. He, mentions a bigger, a smaller, not big enough to put a body in. He just goes all around, the size and shape of whatever with this duffel bag.
And like the two little handles that Velcro, you could put the Velcro around it to hold the handles together. It's a small duffel bag. I mean, it was not big enough to put a body in.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. And do you know what? That didn't even cross my mind, but okay. So a small duffel bag. What was it?
And why does it cross his mind? Just saying, like, why does it even cross his mind to say that? Not big enough to put a body. Why would he even say that? It's the same thing when he's up on my panel talking to Brandy and I, and he spouts off with all of these charges that he's had against him and then says, but I have never had an SA assault against me before. Nobody ever mentioned it. He just comes out of left field with like, verbiage that makes absolutely no sense when nobody's asked him anything about that.
It was full of laundry, you said, or what was it?
Nothing but clothes. Brandon's clothes.
Okay. And that was at 5 p.m.? Correct. And you guys all went together?
Yes. We left. Well, no, we were at the house. We didn't leave the house, I think, until probably about 6:30.
Oh, damn. In this interview, he actually says 6:30? Wow. Because this whole time, he's constantly been saying 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And we've even heard him say 5:15, 5:30, close to 6 o'clock. But here, 6:30. The original time law enforcement came out with 6:30 to 7, I believe. And then it got changed to 6:40 to 7:10. And CCTV sees them leaving the neighborhood at 7:08 p.m. But this is the latest I've ever seen Stacey Wondra say when leaving the neighborhood, leaving the house at 6:30 p.m. That's crazy. Yeah, he does, Kelly. He puts himself there at that time. Yeah, that bag, he changes the sizes and everything. It's just really suspicious that he does that. Yeah, what happened to 5:30? Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't 5 o'clock. It was 5:30. 5:30, 5:30, 5:30, 5:30. He's never veered off of that time. It's just been a constant thing. And we keep wondering, why is he so asphyxiated on that 5:30 time? Yeah, and this is an hour later. You cannot make a timeline with him. You know, this is one of those times when I wish I was a fly on the wall or I knew what exactly was inside the case file, because it's like, what did he tell law enforcement? What does law enforcement have? And how the hell did they ever, put together a good timeline for him? Because, they had to do it without his words, because he just lies so much about his time. Yeah, I hope he takes the stand too. I hope they all take the stand.
At night. That's what I told
Okay.
John yesterday.
And why did you guys take the clothes to Brandon's mom's?
Brandon wanted to go wash his clothes at his mom's house because he needed to get new clothes anyways, and different clothes. So he just brought his dirty clothes to his mom's house and then got a bunch of new clothes and brought them back to the house.
And just to let everybody know, when Brandon came up on my panel, he says he did not wash clothes when he got to his mom's, but if he did, they were already there. So I just want to show the contradiction and statements of one. Stacy is saying one thing, Brandon is saying another. And also, from what I understand, when Brandon talked about the duffel bag with me, it's the first time he's talked about that duffel bag or even having a duffel bag with him. I don't even think that Brandon was really specific on any time at all. We can go back and listen to it again if you guys want. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Where is it?
Yeah. Right. You haven't been charged. An alibi?
It was not big enough to put a body in.
Okay. And that was at 5 p.m.?
Correct.
And you guys all went together?
Yes. We left. Well, no, we were at the house. We didn't leave the house, I think, until probably.
There was a little bit of something right before he says that. Let's rewind just a little bit more. Because he starts to say that they left, and then he doesn't.
Around it to hold the handles together. It's a small duffel bag. I mean, it was not big enough to put a body in.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. And do you know what? That didn't even cross my mind. But okay. So a small duffel bag. What was it? And it was full of laundry, you said? Or what was it?
Nothing but clothes. Brandon's clothes.
Okay. And that was at 5 p.m.?
Correct.
And you guys all went together?
Yes. We left. Well, no.
You guys all left together. Yes. We left. Well, no. So he's saying something and then backtracking a little bit. 5 p.m. correct. And you guys all went together? Yes. We left. Well, no. And then he ends up saying 6:30.
No, we were at the house. We didn't leave the house, I think, until probably about 6:30 at night. That's what I told John yesterday.
And why did you guys take the clothes to Brandon's mom's?
Brandon wanted to go wash his clothes at his mom's house because he needed to get new clothes anyways, and different clothes. So he just brought his dirty.
Yeah, that makes sense, Slim, that he is mixing everybody else's timeline for the day into his, because he's trying to figure out where they're at and what they're doing, even though he knows. And then he's talking about his time, and he wants to try covering his ass at the same time. Meanwhile, forgets as he's putting out all these times, probably even ends up thinking, I better save my ass before anything else. So that's why all the times are, incorrect.
clothes to his mom's house, and then got a bunch of new clothes and brought them back to the house.
Okay, so that's why you didn't wash him at, like, why didn't he wash him at your house? Because he wanted.
He was already going. He did all of his laundry. I don't know. It made no sense to us.
Makes some sense right there, Stacy. Like, why did he wash it at that house? Why is he like so, can't even come up with a sentence right here when talking about why Brandon washed his clothes?
Probably about 6:30 at night. That's what I told
Okay.
John yesterday.
And why did you guys take the clothes to Brandon's mom's?
Brandon wanted to go wash his clothes.
Brandon wanted to go wash his clothes
At his mom's house because he needed to get new clothes anyway. And different clothes. So he just brought.
And different clothes. Well, he needed to get clothes, and yeah, you're mentioning it again. So he just
his
brought
dirty clothes to his mom's house, and then got a bunch of new clothes and brought them back to the house.
Okay, so that's why you didn't wash him at, like, why didn't he wash him at your house? Because he wanted.
He was already going. He did all of his laundry. I don't know. It made no sense to us, but he always did his laundry at his mom's house. Always. It didn't matter if it wasn't just that night, but he would always do his laundry at his mom's house. It was just something that he preferred to do.
Yeah, why did he need new clothes? Good catch, Connie. Why did he need to get new clothes anyway? Why is Stacy fumbling so much about why he took clothes to his mom's house to wash them there instead of at their house?
Okay.
I don't know if it was a comfortability thing or if it was, preferred. I don't know. It didn't add up. It didn't make sense, but, we weren't going to question it. People have their own.
Right, Jemima? I mean, you can always tell when he's lying about something or he's not getting his story straight or whatever because he just starts stuttering and it's just so bad. It's just so bad.
Things.
Yeah.
So if it was small, like a small duffel bag, so it wasn't one of the ones that like had the shoulder strap or anything. It was just like
No, it had a shoulder strap, but it was how do I word it? Take a small duffel bag, okay? But on the duffel bag, it had zippers on the lengthwise the ends of the duffel bag, and it had a shoulder strap, and it had two little handles that you could put the Velcro connector to hold the handles, so you can make one handle basically, and that's what it was. But it was small. It was not. You probably could put. I don't know. You could probably put. I don't know. A small amount of clothes in it. I mean, you could not, and that's packing it.
So did he do that often? He would like bring over just a couple outfits, and then he would pack them up. And so, like, about how many outfits would he bring at a time? Do you think?
I'd say enough for a week.
A week. Okay, because I was kind of confused by that because like he had mentioned some other interviews that like I can't figure out. Did he live with you and Sarah full time or just on the weekends to do the taxi?
He lived with us. He became like a child in a sense to us. We ended up paying for his phone bill and pretty much paying for his court fines and all this other bullshit. In a sense, he was supposed to pay us back, which is another reason why I'm not fond of him because he owed us so much money. I mean, he owes us thousands of dollars.
Owes them thousands of dollars, but yet Brandon worked for them all the time in the taxi business, driving and stuff. You would think that, they would be maybe deducting the money he owed them out of the money they were giving him to make sure they were getting paid. I don't know if I believe that Brandon owed them a shit ton of money, and I don't even know if I believe that they were paying for his court fines and stuff because I know his mom was doing a lot of that. Well, I don't know for 100% that she was, but I hear and have heard that she does pay for all of those kinds of things for him. So
and it's our fault for helping him, but that's who Sarah and I are. We're people that help people. You know, that's what it was. We were just, you know, believed in helping people.
So go ahead, Ellie.
Did you guys wait there while he did the laundry at his mom's house? Like while you were doing the
He just threw the clothes in the washer.
Okay. And so then he packed the duffel bag full and bring it back, or did he just kind of drop the stuff off and his mom kind of took care of it for him and
his mom wasn't home.
Oh, she wasn't?
He wasn't allowed to be in the house. He was supposed to be in the house, which is why Brandon had to go around the back part of the house to get into the house, because his mom had motion sensor doorbell that picked up action.
but yeah, Brandon tells us the live he did with me that his mom knew that they were going there, that she let her know that they were going there.
On and started recording. So he would always have to go around the back of the house so he didn't get recorded going to the house.
Is that what he did that night?
Yeah.
Go to the back so he didn't get recorded going to the house?
Mm-hmm.
With a duffel bag?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate because I'm looking at chat and we're here to hear your side of the story. And so we just need to clarify like a few things because I just want to help you out. You guys left. This is like around the time Monkey disappeared as far as the police timeline goes. Okay, you're nodding. You realize that. And you guys, it's you and Brandon and Sarah, and you're going out with a duffel bag, with a bunch of laundry, driving far away to Brandon's mom's house where he's not supposed to be, to allegedly do his laundry when he isn't even supposed to be there, but maybe that's why he's sneaking over there. Like, I get like, I just want you to know what the chat's feeling a little.
I already see where the chat's probably going.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just trying to
but
help
I already
you. Like,
can see where they're directed. No,
right.
And to clarify with everybody, I was a absolute 100% witness when Brandon put the clothes in his duffel bag. It was completely empty. There's not a single item in it. I was in the house the whole time. We all left through the garage together. There was nothing. There was nothing inside that duffel bag beside clothes. Just so people are aware.
Yeah.
We
okay.
Walked through the garage.
Thank you.
Got in the truck. I threw the tow strap in the truck. Brandon got in the back seat behind me. Sarah was driving. I was in the passenger seat. Took off. Made it to Cuna. Brandon went in to go do his laundry. Took the duffel bag in. I get where you guys can kind of be like, oh, well, that's, it's kind of weird. It wasn't weird to me, considering I literally watched him.
Sure.
Every move that he made.
And can I just ask where the duffel bag is now? Like, do police have that? Did police confiscate that?
No, I don't know. I think Brandon has it in North Dakota or wherever he is. I don't know. The duffel bag was never. I don't even think that detectives. They might have it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again,
okay.
I was in jail for 18 months, so I don't know what they have. I don't know what they don't have.
Okay, go ahead, Ellie.
So I was.
Did we lose Ellie? We can't hear you, Ellie. Oh, you're on mute now. Unmute yourself, Ellie. There you go. Talk now.
Thank you. I'm having some trouble with the button. So I'm just curious. So did you and Sarah go into his mom's house with him when he like snuck in there?
No, Sarah stayed in the truck. I had to push Brandon's car out of the driveway to back it out and to push it out into the street behind the truck so I can hook up the tow strap to it.
Okay. So he just went in with the duffel bag, kind of dropped it off, threw
Put the
clothes
laundry in the washer.
and
How would he know whether or not he put the clothes in the washer if he's outside? That's something that's just always gotten to me. How would he know that Brandon actually went in and actually washed laundry if he didn't go inside? And then when I spoke with Brandon, he puts Stacy in the house, that Stacy came into the house. So wouldn't it make more sense that Stacy did come into the house and that's when he saw Brandon doing laundry, if Brandon did do any laundry? You can't be outside pushing the car, hooking up the tow strap and doing all those things and still know what Brandon's doing inside, when Brandon even told me they never opened the garage. Like, you know, the garage would have to go up. The door to get into the garage, I believe, is on the house, if there is a door to get into the garage. Yeah, it does not make sense. Yeah, Stacy didn't move a car. Remember, he can't even mow the lawn.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, and thanks for bringing that up, Rhiannon, because think about how freaking hot it was, too. So big old Stacy's out there doing all the work and pushing the car and everything as hot as it was that day. He's talking, yeah, he's saying, and Brandon put in the laundry. So, I mean, like, how did he know Brandon did the laundry?
Washer, got some new clothes, came out with the duffel bag.
Yeah, exactly, Kelly. And Brandon makes it sound like he was the one getting the car and tow strap and everything all hooked up. He makes it sound like he's the one doing that while Stacy's in the house going to the bathroom or maybe getting a drink of water. And it's the complete opposite here. Stacy never puts himself inside that house. Ever. Never. But Brandon does. And to me, that's huge.
okay.
And
Go ahead.
Yeah, how fast he went in and did the laundry. Exactly. But Brandon says, I didn't do laundry. And if I did, it was what was there.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Well, I'm chopping up a little bit. So he got the duffel bag. He came back out. He's not supposed to be at his mom's house. So
He's not supposed to be at his mom's house because Brandon would bring friends over that his mom didn't approve of. And, you know, people would steal stuff from his mom and shit like that. So that's why. But she eventually knew that he was in the house. You know what I mean? But that's the only way Brandon could get in the house was going through the side of the house. And he did that multiple times.
did he have a key or did he like go in through a window or
No, he just went to the garage.
Oh, okay. He went through
The garage, the garage that goes out to the backyard.
And did Sarah go in?
No, Sarah stayed in the truck.
Okay, because didn't you earlier say she went in to pee?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sarah
I'm just
went-
curious.
But he does. In early interviews and everything else, said Sarah used the restroom inside the house and that they also pulled over on the way back to Fruitland from Cuna so she could go to the bathroom.
On the side, Sarah went pee on the side of the road when the tow strap broke, which we can cover.
Oh yeah, let's cover that too. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, like, he doesn't seem very sneaky. I'm just gonna
He's not.
say, like,
He's not.
if he like avoided these cameras, he went in and then he threw these clothes in the washing machine, but he didn't wait to like fully do the laundry. Wouldn't
His mom was in Arizona.
Oh, so when did he go back to finish up the laundry?
Sarah and Brandon went back the next day. Oh my God. So went back the next day to go.
So he says that Sarah and Brandon go back to the house the next day. And we know from the confession footage, Chris Madonna talks to Stacy and says, "You told us that Brandon bound Michael up in the spare bedroom, but why did they bring him back here the next day?" Meaning, like, why did they bring him back from Cuna to Fruitland to their house on Red Wing the next day? And he says the word they. So here, Stacy is saying they, Sarah and Brandon, went back to the house the next day. Is there truth in that? We don't know. All we can do is speculate and theorize about it because we don't know who's lying and who's not. But he's saying that Sarah and Brandon went back the next day. Yeah, he's definitely not keeping up with his lies. He can't. The more and more you lie, the more and more your story changes, the more and more you forget about what you're saying. And I believe that that's why doing all these interviews was Stacy's biggest mistake. This is going to fry his ass, in my opinion. When indictments come out, like, yeah, they have so much against him using everything he said on YouTube. It's all public.
Finished his laundry, and they came back in a couple hours.
It says they came back within a couple hours. I just want to write that down. I don't even know how far Cuna is from Fruitland. That's what he told Chris Madonna in confession video too, that they went back the next day. Yeah. And Brendan denies ever being intimate with Sarah. Yep.
Okay. We can go back. Ellie, did you have any questions about the house, being in the house or anything? Because I was going to maybe go to the
45 minutes to an hour from Fruitland. Thank you for that. Brendan said he'd get back about whether he went back the next day. Yes, he did not answer that question. He also did not answer the question whether or not he stayed the night at the Wondra's house the night that Michael was abducted on the 27th of July, 2021.
brake fluid.
Power steering.
Yeah, I keep saying brake fluid. Let's get it right. Facts are important here. Thank you, Stacy, for keeping me on track, because your facts are really important. And power steering. So, and I think Ellie's muted right now. So, okay. So how long again were you at Cuna with
Maybe
the laundry
a half hour.
and the half hour, but you never went in?
No.
Hey, Ashley.
And Sarah never went in to pee. She
No.
peed on the side of the road. So when did the peeing on the side of the road happen?
After she left us. No.
She must be having a hard time. She's probably going to try to come back.
Yeah.
I know, right? We like Ellie. Ellie's great.
Yeah. So after I got the vehicle hooked up, got all bloated, everybody got.
Oh, really, Sarah? He said that he stayed the night there that night? Well, I see every time I go and listen to things over and over and over again, you catch something every time.
Brandon was in his car behind the driver's side to steer it. I'm in the truck with Sarah. We took off and went to Idaho. We took 10-mile road to Idaho 16. Now, mind you, when you tow a vehicle with a tow strap, you're never supposed to tow a vehicle on the interstate. Specifically because that's, for people that go, 80 plus miles an hour.
Uh-huh.
So we took the back way to that, which was Idaho 16, which was the timestamps that I sent people or
Okay.
sent. So Idaho 16, which is where we ended up pulling off, because Sarah went to go. Now, when you tow a vehicle, you're supposed to keep a tight, you're supposed to keep the tow strap tight. Well,
Okay.
we had come to a stoplight, and then Sarah jumped the gun and gave the truck too much gas and jolted the truck or his car and snapped the tow strap. So we had to pull off to the side of the road, and there she is. And I had to get
Yeah, I don't remember law enforcement ever stating that Brandon was at the house that night.
it out, and Sarah was in the truck. Brandon was in his car. I got out, reattached the tow strap. I had to double knot it, which made this tow strap significantly shorter. And then Sarah got out for a quick second, walked around the truck on the side of the road, and used the bathroom. And then got back into the truck. That's where that came into the play.
Okay. Why was Sarah driving the truck?
Because she wanted to learn how to tow a vehicle. And I honestly, it's hard being a bigger guy. It's hard for me to drive. It's hard to explain. It's hard for me to drive longer distances. I'm a good short distance driver. But when it comes to long distance, it's harder. During the day, it's a different story, but nighttime gets harder on me because, it's hard to explain. But that's why she was driving, because I didn't feel like driving. And Sarah honestly was comfortable driving, and I was okay with her driving, so that's why she was driving.
Okay. And where was the duffel bag? You guys had it in
It was sitting next to Brandon.
Okay, in the back of the truck. Was the truck?
Well, no, Brandon was towing his car, so the duffel bag was in with Brandon's new clothes were in his car with him.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. So got it.
Mhm.
And you get back, and then what do you do?
So get back into the neighborhood. We pull in. We first pull in off of US 95 onto 8th Street. We notice there's a bunch of people, and I told Sarah to stop, and we stopped and asked what was going on, and they said a little boy has disappeared. So we were like, that's really crazy. Because we'd never heard of that before in our neighborhood. You know what I mean? This has never been a thing since we've lived in that neighborhood.
Right.
That whole statement is just weird. It was never a thing in our neighborhood. Well, hell no, it's not a thing in your neighborhood. Kids just don't get abducted every single day. You know what I mean? For him to say it like that, he's just deflecting so much of having to explain the fact that that's never happened before in their neighborhood. Why would it happen now? Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, right? We know that it's only, at the kids that come up missing, only, what is it, 4 to 6% of children are actually abducted. I know he's saying disappeared. He's not using the word abducted, but that's also him again deflecting from the fact that they abducted Michael. And yeah, weird that, crazy because this happened in their neighborhood. It's just a weird statement.
Yes, I added fluid before the trip, before we took off to Cuna.
I think with John, didn't you tell him, John? Correct me if I'm wrong, because I genuinely remember this. Or maybe it was before. I thought it was after. And John asked you, devil's advocate, why. I could have this wrong. Ellie is having a hard time unmuting. So Ellie, you tell me if you remember this part. I know that Ellie's. When did he explain to John yesterday?
Does JD Huff mention that in the in that press conference? That, I mean, towards the end there, when he's talking about Brandon and Adrian, does he say something like, we're staying at the Wondра's house at the time of disappearance? Why am I am kind of remembering something like that. I need to go back and listen. Oh yeah, 4% of children are abducted by a stranger.
About the fluid, Ellie. Do you remember? Ellie's having a hard time with her mute button, I learned.
I think I got it. It just has a little bit of a delay on it. I thought before pulled out of the neighborhood.
That's what I told him. Yeah, exactly what I
Okay.
just told you.
Okay.
It was before I pulled out of the neighborhood, before we left 8th Street. We pulled off on the right-hand side of Southwest 8th Street and before Arizona, where
Okay.
that big hayfield, alfalfa field is right there.
It was like
Right.
where he saw, like, it was where like the other little boy was, like the little boy.
Yeah,
Thank
tell us
you.
about the tell us about the boy that you saw.
He was just a nothing.
Yeah, Kelly, or that JD Huff interview or press conference says something like, we're living at the Wondра's house at the time of Michael's abduction. Something to that effect, but I don't know that it says stayed the night. It's just something we can look at, definitely. Nothing to really argue about. So, yeah, I don't remember them saying Brandon stayed the night there at the house. Need to go back and listen to that.
Unusual stood out. He was just a little boy, or another boy. He wasn't little. He was definitely looked nothing like Michael. He was more dark hair. I don't know how to label other than he was a Mexican. He was a Mexican kid, and
Thank you, Sarah, for saying that. So Adrian Lucian, currently believed to be in Toledo, was living in the Wondра's home at the time and likely has firsthand knowledge. Do you know what it says about Brandon, was the question. But I believe if you just take Adrian's name there and put Brandon Shirtliff, that he says the exact same thing about Brandon as well. Except for currently believed to be in, a different area, was living in the Wondра's home at the time. Thank you, Sarah.
Shorts and a t-shirt, and
that's exactly right, Jemima. That's exactly right. This is how easily things can get twisted. And that's why, when we're not sure, we got to look up the facts, know the facts, to speak on the facts. Oh, you did. Commented above. Let me see. Brandon Shirtliff, currently believed to be in North Dakota, was living in the Wondра's home at the time and likely has firsthand knowledge. Okay. Yeah, it does not say that Brandon stayed the night. They were living in the home with the Wondras.
he was much more filled in and defined. Like he was probably, had to guess, between 8 and 10 years old, if I had to guess. I mean, but look, nothing in relation to Michael or close to Michael. But that's what I saw that day, and he was just by himself, hanging out on. I assumed it was his front yard, just playing, being a kid. I would have done the same thing, when I was a kid.
Yeah. And why does that child? Why does that child? Why do you remember him? Like, what is it about that child that kind of made you notice him?
Nothing really. I mean, he was the only kid that was. I mean, really, there was people walking on the sidewalk. You know what I mean? But that's just you asked if people asked me if I saw any kids or anything, and I said, yeah, that's who I saw.
Right.
But I don't know
Yeah.
specifics. I don't know like what his facial features would look like.
Sure.
I didn't,
Sure.
not like I got that close, but I can tell you what, his skin color and,
Yeah.
what, shorts and a t-shirt. But I mean,
He says shorts and t-shirts. Never heard that before. He's been asked several times in other interviews what the child was wearing, and he always says he didn't know. But here he says shorts and a t-shirt, and that's exactly what Michael was wearing. Shorts and a t-shirt.
I can't tell you, what he looks like, verbatim.
And then he gets nervous. Yeah, and there's no sidewalk, Halo. Exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And for
I
those
can tell
wondering,
you it
some
wasn't
people are saying,
Michael.
go ahead, Ellie. Yeah.
Was he like really far away from you? Like, again, I've
He
never
was
been in the
probably
neighborhood.
He's probably 7, maybe 8 houses down on the right hand.
Oh my God. He first started out 4, 5, 6 houses down. Now it's 7, 8 houses down. And it's impossible to be 7, 8 houses down because there's only 6 houses on that long stretch between Arizona and Washington. And you can't even see anybody standing in the street, or much less in the yard, from like 3 houses down into 8th Street. So he's seriously trying to deflect here. Like there's not even that many houses there. And he knows that. He has to know that. Yeah, that would literally put him at the splash pad, right, Kelly? Because as soon as you pass Washington, the splash pad's right there on the left-hand side. There's no way he can see down that stretch. And if you guys want to go back and look, there's a live, I believe, like it says something like Brandy sent me videos or something like that. And you can get the whole layout in videos of the neighborhood. Hot Mess and Brandy both did videos in that neighborhood to give everybody a very good perspective of just exactly how close the Wondras lived to the Bonds, about Arizona and 8th Street, the neighborhood, how many houses, where the splash pad is. Hot Mess took us with her videos all the way to the splash pad. Yeah, it gives you a very good perspective of the entire neighborhood. So if you guys want to go catch that and watch that, you really should, because I've been doing this case for over a year now, and it wasn't until I saw the videos that I was like, oh, damn, that neighborhood is so much smaller than I actually thought that it was. It's a very small neighborhood.
Inside.
Okay.
I mean, it was not like you could, I mean, you could really depict his facial features, like as if like it was just like me and you on the camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I think we might have
nothing
someone
unusual.
here. I think we might have someone here that once interviewed you. If so, thank you for being here. I want to say, people point them out to me, and if they have specific questions, I'll ask. Anyway, go ahead. Thank you for everyone that's interviewed you. Your story matters. Sorry, go ahead, Ellie.
Who's the one that interviewed me?
I'm learning. I don't know which one. I know you've done some. Who have you interviewed with, Stacy? And then I might be able to.
Dolly, Eve, Brooks, and Level-Headed, and
Josh.
yeah, Labs.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, anyway, thank you everyone for that's interviewed Stacy. Your story matters, Stacy. Sorry, go ahead, Ellie and or Stacy. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll be watching the chat for anyone that wants to ask anything.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was just trying to get a sense of like how far the house with the little boy was from where they stopped to put in the power steering fluid. And that was before you had the other car, right? You were just in the truck, but it was before the car.
What do you mean?
Like you guys hadn't picked up the car yet?
Oh, correct. Yes, correct.
Okay.
That was before we even left the subdivision or the neighborhood.
So after you left the subdivision, so you notice this boy, he's outside by himself, about 7 or 8 houses away.
My ass. 7, 8 houses is ridiculous.
So you get back in the passenger seat,
Mm-hmm.
and then you guys drive off. Did anyone else? Did Sarah notice the boy? Did Brayden notice the boy? Did you guys like talk about it later? Like wondering, was that the
I'm
boy?
sure they noticed him, but it wasn't. Again, it wasn't an unusual.
He gets so fumbled up right there, and what a great question. Like, did you ever think about the little boy that you saw later? Why wouldn't you have thought that? You see a little boy, he's out in the neighborhood by himself. You leave to go to CUNA, you come back, the neighborhood's crazy. They're talking about a missing child in the neighborhood, and it doesn't dawn on you, it doesn't make you think, oh my gosh, I saw a little boy wandering around the neighborhood by himself. You don't tell law enforcement that. You don't say, this is where I saw the child, you know, or did he? Probably not. I'm assuming he didn't, in my personal opinion. And I heard somebody say that in a news report, law enforcement didn't even know that Stacy had saw a child until he got up on YouTube and started talking about this child. So yeah, he didn't mention a child to law enforcement. But you can't sit there and say like you didn't think about it. That would be something I thought about. If I saw this child, I would be, you know, oh my gosh, I saw that child and he was here, or doing this, or whatever. I better tell law enforcement. And then right after this question, he's just fumbled. I'm going to rewind just a little bit because he's very fumbled here. And it's so obvious why, because, you know, when something's going on, you're in your head, you're thinking about the situation, you're thinking about what happened, what you did, what somebody you know might have done, you know, so he's all in his head, he can't think straight. Kelly says, when did he even bring up seeing a child the first time? It seems like he had done a few interviews with Brooks before the child was ever mentioned. I want to say he started talking about this child with Brooks, but I can't remember which interview it was, if it was the first, second, or third. But he talked more about the child in the third interview because she asked more questions. So I do want to say the child was mentioned pretty early on because Brooks asked him about it. These interviews really must have done so much for law enforcement on Michael's case, right? I honestly don't even believe that Sarah and Brandon went and looked for Michael. There's conflicting stories there.
That was before we even left the subdivision or the neighborhood.
So after you left the subdivision, so you notice this boy, he's outside by himself.
And here you're going to hear him fumbling when she starts asking him about, you didn't even think about, you know, that child that you saw by himself. When you get told that there was a missing child, or however she puts it.
About 7 or 8 houses away. So you get back in the passenger seat,
Mm-hmm.
and then you guys drive off. Did anyone else did Sarah notice the boy? Did Brayden notice the boy? Did you guys like talk about it later? Like wondering, was that the
I'm
boy?
sure they noticed him, but it wasn't. again, it wasn't an unusual situation. I mean, kids play all the time. It was a neighborhood. You know what I mean? There's gonna be kids.
It's an unusual situation when you see a child playing and then later get told that a child came up missing. That's what makes this unusual. And he has to say it was a normal situation like he always does, because he's got to deflect away from the fact that it was a very unusual day because a child was abducted in the neighborhood. It was a very unusual day.
There was nothing unusual about it. You know, it was just a normal, everyday
Totally.
day.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So you guys get home. What do you guys do that night after you get home from funeral?
Brandon and Sarah went out and looked for Michael. I was unstrapping the car from the truck because I was taking up the whole length of the street pretty much and blocking the road, and you can't do that per neighborhood. I guess you're not supposed to do that in the neighborhood, I guess, or the code. It's per code, but you can get a ticket for it. So I immediately got home. They went out and looked for Michael, and
Did you hear that? Michael? He could barely even say Michael's name. And this is one of the first times you'll hear him say Michael's name. He doesn't say Michael's name very often. He's always deflected away from his name, but he stops here and pauses and says, Michael. I want to rewind it so you guys can hear it because he's having such a difficult time saying his name.
Brandon and Sarah went out and looked for Michael. I was unstrapping.
He's even nervous saying his name right there. Brandon and Sarah went out looking for Michael. It slows way down.
The car from the truck because I was taking up the whole length of the street pretty much and blocking the road, and you can't do that per neighborhood. I guess you're not supposed to do that in
It's coming up. You're going to hear him say Michael's name, but it's going to be a long M, like a Michael.
in the neighborhood, I guess, or the code. It's per code, but you can get a ticket for it. So I immediately got home. They went out and looked for
right here,
Michael, and I unstrapped per neighborhood. I guess you're not supposed to do that in the neighborhood, I guess, or the code. It's per code, but you can get a ticket for it. So I immediately got home. They went out and looked for Michael, and
it's just a very strange, like, Michael. Like, he really had a hard time saying his name. How many times have you guys heard him say Michael's name? Right here, he says Michael twice. But it's so hard both times he says it. Both times. The first time he said it, he had to slow way down. He said Michael, but he said Michael. Like it was slow. And then here it's Michael.
I unstrapped the car, and then I went in the house. After I got everything undone, and I think if I remember it, I passed out. I went to sleep.
You passed out? And you
Yeah, I
said
went to
this.
sleep.
Okay, and Sarah and Brandon went out looking for Michael because how did they know to go out looking for Michael?
Because when we pulled into the neighborhood, there was people everywhere. You know, and that's how we learned that a little boy went missing was from the people when we first pulled into the subdivision after we got back, or in the neighborhood on 8th Street after we were towing his vehicle. we stopped and asked what was going on, and they said a little boy has gone missing. And so Sarah and Brandon decided they were going to go help them look for this little boy, while I went and got the vehicle unstrapped.
Okay. And then you just kind of passed out after that?
I was burnt. I'm telling you, even being a big guy now, like, it takes a lot out of me to have energy to do things. And I was much bigger at that time. So yeah, it was just, I mean, and it was exhausting. I mean, it was like probably 11:30 or so when I went in the house and passed out.
Uh-huh.
But and Sarah came home and with Brandon, and I asked if they seen or heard anything. They said no, and that was that night.
Okay. So I just want to clarify, I think this part's really interesting is when Michael went missing. This is your alibi. This is your alibi.
Mhm.
You're with Sarah, your wife, and
Mhm.
your roommate, Brandon. Brandon needs to do laundry. He's not allowed at his mom's home, but she's
Mhm.
luckily out of town. And you guys are like, let's go. He packs a duffel bag. You guys head out to go to CUNA,
Mhm.
but then you pull over to do put fluid in the car. Is that right?
Before we left the neighborhood, keep in mind. Before
you left the neighborhood. So you pull out.
Before we went to CUNA.
Before you went to CUNA, you pull over. Before you left the neighborhood. But the monkey's neighborhood is your neighborhood, right? It's about a half a mile
No.
away.
Our
No.
neighborhood is our subdivision. He lives in the other side. You literally have to walk. He doesn't live in our neighborhood.
That's true. There's
you
like a
literally
street
have to
dividing.
walk. There's a street dividing it. 2 streets dividing it, because you have to go on 8th Street, you have to cross 8th Street, and you have to go on down Arizona about probably an 1/8 of a mile, and then there's 9th Street.
Totally makes sense. Okay.
Trying to say that 8th and 9th Streets, like an 1/8 of a mile, it's like a block. It's got one house on it. One house. Actually 2 houses. One that faces 8th Street and one that faces the field. Definitely not an 1/8 of a mile here. And yeah, he makes it sound like they're just so far away, and their houses were not far away. Yeah, they lived in a subdivision. Brandy and the Vaughn family, Michael, lived on 9th. But it's crazy the way he talks and makes it sound like it was so far when it's not. It's like a 4-minute walk. That's not very far.
That makes sense. You're right, because I do remember now. It's been
And
a
I've never
while.
been on.
Yeah, there was a street dividing.
And I've never, just so everybody knows on here, I have never been on 9th Street a day in my life. I've never even been on. I don't even think I've been on Arizona.
Exactly, Dawn. For somebody that drives all the time, no concept of distance. When you would have that like, I drove with my dad when he drove truck. You know, he was a truck driver, and I've traveled a lot. I love to still travel. I'm pretty good at the distance. And that's why when he talks, I'm hearing just a bunch of gibberish because he's just trying so hard to deflect how close they actually live together. And there's no reason to do that other than you're just deflecting from it.
So
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that and specify that to people. Like, I have never been on 9th Street. So
Yeah. Your house is like about a half mile from
correct.
Michael's. Yeah, about a half mile. So okay. So then you get home, they go out looking for Michael, because you had to have been kind of surprised when you pulled up and saw all the people. Like, what were you thinking when you saw everyone?
It was concerning, very concerning. We didn't know what was going on at all. Like, we've never seen so much activity like that ever since we've lived there.
Uh-huh.
And it was just shocking to us.
Yeah. So did you ask somebody? Like, how did you?
Yeah, we asked a police officer what was going on.
Okay. Okay. So you like, did you roll down the window in the truck or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he told you, and then they went
Mm-hmm.
out, you crashed because you were tired.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and like Ashley says above, like he's saying he crashed and he was tired. You're crashing, you're tired, yet you still know when Brandon and Sarah come back to the house. Does that make sense? Like, are you in the bedroom sleeping or you're on the couch? Like, if you're on the couch and you hear the door open, you might hear them come back. If you're in the bedroom and you're out and it's been hot and you're tired and exhausted, are you going to wake up and they come back? How are you going to know exactly when they are coming back into the house? If they even had left to begin with. Because Brandon's saying one thing, Stacy's saying another, you know, and it's the same with borrowing Carson's truck. But that's one of the reasons why we're going over everything, is just to watch and look at all the different inconsistencies, you know, contradictions, lies, story changing, the whole thing.
And then Adrian was just gone. Adrian just was
He
gone.
never came back. He was gone for that night. Correct.
Hey, Capital Productions. Okay. Good to see you.
Well, what else would you like to know, Ellie? Anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to circle back because I dropped off there for a minute. So I'd like to circle back, if that's okay, back to the laundry thing. You guys might have wrapped that up, but I didn't see any of that. So Brandon broke into his mom's house, like avoided the cameras, broke in, and started his laundry. But then right when I dropped off, you were saying that Brandon and Sarah went over the next day.
Correct.
To get his laundry and finish up. What time did they go over the next day to do that?
Early morning. I think they probably would have left about 9.
I just want to take notes on a couple things here. So they're like, he said earlier they were gone for a couple of hours. And now he's saying left about 9 a.m. So if they were gone a couple of hours, they'd be back by what, 11 a.m. if they were only gone a couple of hours. But it's almost a 45-minute drive there, drive back. So, I mean, you know, it's going to be over an hour drive there and back. So you're not there at the house for very long.
And what time do you think they got back?
It was no later than noon.
Okay.
So he's saying no later to noon, left about 9, home 12 p.m. So that's a few hours. You know, and Chris Madonna, he doesn't ask questions unless there's a reason why Chris Madonna asks questions. And he really wanted to know why they left and brought Michael back the next day. Why'd they bring him back the next day, is what he says, or something to that effect.
So 9 to noon, and then they kind of came back. Nothing seemed amiss when they got back. Everything seemed good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nothing seemed off at all. That's what I'm trying to explain to people, is nothing was off about that night, other than him just going, him going missing. But it was just appalling to all of us. It was sad. I think it was probably the worst news that we've heard ever since we've lived there.
Sarah she sounds like she was very energetic. Like she was in the emergency room the night before for a diabetes issue. And then you guys were up and at him the next day, taking these taxi calls. She was running Brandon and Adrian around.
And what doesn't make sense with all of that to me, like this, what is her name? Ellie talking about Sarah being energetic. So my daughter is a type 1 diabetic. I'm a type 2 diabetic. My daughter was a juvenile diabetic. We didn't find out she had diabetes until she was 12. And something I know about diabetes is when you have high numbers and your blood sugars are out of control, which Stacy claims she was always in and out of the hospital because she wasn't taking care of her diabetes, and her blood sugars were always high. You're exhausted. Matter of fact, you're so exhausted, you don't really want to do anything and you want to sleep a lot. You can add in the fact that we do believe that they were all doing drugs at this time, and maybe that's where Sarah may have had her energy from. But it doesn't make sense for her to be in and out of the hospital, you know, being this active the way she's putting it. And I never really thought about that till just now. Her being so active, having such high blood sugars, doesn't make a lot of sense, because you're usually just really tired and exhausted. That's what happens when your body gets into that ketoacidosis. And, you know, you get that heart palpitation going and everything. You just so mentally, physically exhausted. Your diabetes at that point has taken over and you just don't want to do anything. Your body aches. Nothing off about randomly choosing that night to go during the night for Sarah to tow her first car and for them to use a tow strap. No steering fluid, right? Yeah, I've said the same thing about, you know, why pick that night for her to drive? It's her first tow. It's evening time. I mean, you got to learn if you got to learn. And I'm a girl that likes to know things about cars. I have towed with a tow strap. You know, I like working on cars and stuff, but yeah, for her to do that on this night, when we do believe, a lot of us do believe, that they had Michael when they went to Cuna. Exactly, Ashley. You're totally thirsty. You're thirsty, you're urinating all the time, you're exhausted. All those things.
Then you guys dealt with the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then her and Brandon went out to search for Michael. And they didn't get home till late.
About 12, I think. 12 or 12.
And they left again by like 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to sleep. I mean, they don't like to relax. I guess it's a better way to put it. They were busy.
Yeah. This is a question, Crime Sleuth, and thank you for your super chats, everyone. Truly, they help. We kind of went over this, but she wants to know how many inches the duffel bag was, and if you could show with your hands. But your camera is really small too. I don't even know if your hands can fit.
Yeah, there's not. It's not going to show that. I can tell you. I've already went over this. Can't tell you inches how long it was. I'd say maybe the duffel bag in length was maybe 3 feet in length.
Yeah.
And height, I mean, I don't even know how to go in height, but there's no way you're putting a body in that bag. I can tell you that. And to answer the question about the bag coming in, I see the bag again. Yes. Brandon used it all the time.
Hey, by the way, people.
And Brandon did tell me he used his duffel bag all the time. He said he took it with him everywhere. He said he had, like, you know, all of his stuff in his duffel bag. He'd keep his money, his wallet, his stuff, carry his duffel bag around everywhere. But I don't think that he even called it a duffel bag, though. He said a bag. I carried a bag around everywhere I went that always had all of my stuff. It almost sounded like, I don't want to say a fanny pack, but definitely, you know, carrying his stuff around, which you might actually do if you live with people that you don't trust. If you're living in a house where people were always bringing in strangers, you would want your stuff on you at all time. You'd want, you know, because you wouldn't want anybody to steal any of your stuff. And Brandon did really tell me, like, he, you know, carried his stuff on him a lot. And it made sense to me that he would do that.
People are mentioning about other creators going live tonight about this. If you are, let me know. I'll send people over. Anyone? I don't know all of the channels, but I support all of the channels covering, you know, Michael's case. So feel free to share your channels in chat is what I'm sharing, and I'll try to pin them too as we kind of conclude. And if anybody wants that, I'm happy to do that. I want awareness for Monkey, and if anybody is interested in seeing Stacy's other interviews, I haven't seen them, but well, I've seen I think
Hollywood.
one, but I'd love to share. So I'd love to share. So let me know if anybody wants me to share their channels where you're going to go live tonight about this, or where you've interviewed Stacy so that everybody else can go see more. Stacy, you know, you've lasted a while. So the next day, Brandon goes back. Did you guys keep looking for Michael after that? I know that like you had him on your refrigerator, his picture, and you put him as your profile photo. Were you helping to actively look when this child went missing? Okay. Okay. And how did you continue looking for him or helping? Did you guys go out searching, or?
Yep.
What do you think? What did you think back then?
See, and he couldn't give Brooks a straight answer on whether or not they ever went back out to look for Michael, but he's saying they went out to look for Michael again.
And that happened to him. What do you think happened to Michael then? Wasn't you? What do you think happened?
I don't know. I don't even know how to speculate. I think, I mean, I think he was taken. I mean, I don't know what else to even. There's no other. A kid doesn't just go missing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, without having, I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what to think. You know, it's sad.
Mm-hmm. I saw in chat earlier they were wanting us to ask what Stacy's thoughts were on his neighbor. Do you have any thoughts on your neighbor? Do you know what they're talking about with that?
Person's a good dude. I would never. I mean, he does have a sex offense, but it's never ever been even a concern.
Okay.
Crime Sleuthing is letting us know that she did a detailed review and comparison of all of Stacy's interviews. If anyone's interested, again, this is to all creators here that have ever done anything with Michael and Stacy. Let me know. I'll pin them all. Everyone look at the pinned comments so I don't keep interrupting. But I would love to share everyone's channels that are interviewing Stacy and have shared his stuff. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Ellie.
So I also saw another question was floating up a lot. I just want to give Stacy an opportunity to clear the air on all of these kind of trending topics. I don't always know what they are, but I see, you know, if I see it happening multiple times, I think it's worth giving him an opportunity to address it. And one of them says there's a picture of Adrian at Applebee's at 4:45. Do you know what that's about? Like, it's saying it's time stamped at 4:45, and he was there with Sarah and Brandon.
Sorry, I was reading the comment.
Ignore the comment. Sorry.
I've heard about the timestamp, but it doesn't make sense because they were, again, home when I got home.
Mm-hmm. So how long of a drive is it from the Applebee's to your house? Like, could that maybe have been when they were leaving, or like how far of a drive is it to get from Applebee's to your house?
40 minutes. Well, it depends which city you go in.
Uh-huh. Well, did they happen to
If
tell
they go
you
to
which one they
Boise,
were
it's about 62 miles.
at? Uh-huh.
But if you go to Nampa, it's only like 36.
Okay.
Again, he is talking about Boise or Nampa when he knows they were in Nampa. He talks about them being in Nampa when he talks to on Brooks's panel. And then all of a sudden in other interviews, he starts throwing out Boise. It's weird. And was the picture that he put up as his profile picture, was that from the family's Facebook or was that from the family's babysitter's Facebook? Because I heard that he had took it off of the internet and that picture was shared by the Vaughn family babysitter, but I'm not sure 100%.
Did they happen to mention to
Yeah, Sarah's car is right behind him in that picture, I believe.
you when they came back, like which one they ate at?
I'm sorry. These comments are.
I just had an idea. Is he deflecting from what Applebee's he was at because of the time stamp or the time? So if they were in, Boise Applebee's, it would have taken them longer to get home and put them home at a later time. And if they were in Nampa Applebee's, it would have put them at home at a different time, sooner rather than later. And he's saying they got home before him. So is that the reason why he keeps Nampa, Boise, Boise, Nampa? Is he deflecting because of a time issue here that either law enforcement has pointed out or something he realizes he messed up on his story? That picture was put on a flyer by Jennifer Hanna, the babysitter, very early on in Michael's abduction. The babysitter also had that picture in her Facebook feed. Okay.
I got really
Yeah,
bad
just
Sorry, I'm sorry.
pin
Okay,
them down.
I'll stop pinning them. I'm trying to share. So guys, I'm going to stop pinning comments for a while, but keep sharing. I'll try to star them and share them later. Any channel that's supporting Monkey and his family. Okay.
Did they happen to mention to you where they ate at, or did you happen to ask what they did all day?
They just went to. I was under the impression they just went to Applebee's and went to Ross, and I was. I don't really. Other than that, like I don't really question. What Sarah they do. Like they do their own thing. That's fine. Like
Yeah. So that makes sense. You guys were all friends. You're living together. You were all pretty close.
No, Slim, that was the A&W.
So also they're asking a lot about a fight between Adrian and Brandon, that they had a falling out, like some sort of fist fight.
they never had a
day
fist fight.
after.
They never had a fist fight.
Okay, so did they have like some sort of altercation like the day after?
Brandon and Adrian were close. They got close as friends.
Mm-hmm.
There was no.
Oh, wow. So he actually says that Adrian and Brandon were close. That's strange. Just want to write that down. And we're going to end right here because Purple will be doing Monkey Monday on the round table. We can finish up this one and then start another interview. I'm actually going to have to look for more interviews with Stacey Wondra because I don't know if I've ran out of interviews or not. If any of you mods know of any other interviews, let me know. Send me a message or something. I know, but I have done Justin and Josh's interview with Stacy before. So I don't know if I want to do that again. We could add that though to this list. But right now, all right. Well, that was weird. It almost didn't show up. I thought I had lost you all for a minute. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming in and going over all of that with me and analyzing Stacy once again. Part 9. Wow, part 9. Sweet Misery has been taken down, and I can't do that one. Michael Vaughn was abducted July 27th of 2021 in Fruitland, Idaho, from his neighborhood, literally around the corner from his house. 5 years old when he was abducted. Blonde hair, blue eyes, Minecraft t-shirt and shorts. There are 4 known suspects in Michael Vaughn's abduction. Sarah Wondra, Stacey Wondra, who are both currently incarcerated on unrelated charges to Michael's abduction and murder. Adrian Lucian and Brandon Shirtliff. Law enforcement knows exactly where they are. And somebody out there has a tip. Somebody out there knows something, may even know where Michael is right now. One of these suspects abducted Michael. One of these suspects murdered Michael. One of these suspects buried Michael in the backyard of the Wondras house, and one of these suspects moved Michael's body to an unknown location. Somebody out there has information where Monkey is, and we need you to call the police, Fruitland Police, at 208-642-6006, or email findmichael@fruitland.org. You can remain anonymous. There's a over $52,000 reward for any information leading to Michael, and it's time to come forward and be Michael's hero, be the family's hero. You know, we need to continue praying for Michael. We need to continue praying for Brandy and her illness. Continue to pray that one of these 4 suspects will come forward and tell law enforcement or the Vaughn family where Michael is right now. Michael has still not been found. And it's just so very important, you know, to call in that tip. Even if you're scared, you know, law enforcement will get you through that. Just please call the tip line at 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. We are Monkey's Army. We are not going anywhere. We're going to continue to talk about Monkey, bring awareness for Monkey, talk and spread awareness is what the plan is. And we're just going to continue to do so. The DA has already said that charges are going to be brought against these 4 suspects. Idaho State has just announced that their new death penalty will be the firing squad. You're looking at a firing squad. You're looking at life in prison. I mean, tick, 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 time is running out. It is time for one of the suspects to say something. Brandon, Adrian, if you guys know anything, it's time to talk. You know, time's going to run out and indictments are going to come out, and you're not going to get that opportunity to make that deal. It's going to be gone. And you really will be looking at life in prison or the death penalty. A 5-year-old child was murdered. None of you are going to get away with that abduction and murder. Fruitland police have says that there is evidence. The presence of human remains found in the Wondra's backyard. We have heard Stacey Wondra talk about where Monkey was buried in their backyard. He says that Sarah and Adrian buried Michael. Sarah says that Stacy and Adrian buried Michael. Stacy says that Brandon bound Michael up in the spare room. There's talk about duct tape and garbage bags, and it's really disheartening to hear it and to even speak it, but those are the facts. Those are the facts. That's what was said. Is that exactly what happened? We don't know, because we can't ever, we can't believe everything that Stacey Wondra says, but he has said a lot, and he's currently in jail again. He's not going to sit there and be quiet. He hates being in jail. People do not like him in jail. So Adrian, Brandon, your time is running out. You could be holding on to so much. Forgive yourself and talk. Tell law enforcement where Monkey is. Get all of it off of your chest. If you have a tip about Michael's abduction or one of these 4 suspects, please call the police in Fruitland at 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is too small. You have the opportunity to come forward and give the family what they need, which is some kind of closure to be able to mourn. To know that there are people that know exactly where Monkey is and not say anything is disgusting. Michael deserves justice. The family deserves peace. And I mean, how much peace could they even have after all this time? They're trying to move forward best they can with the information that they have, but they still are sitting there what ifing. What if this happened? What if that happened? They have no clue where Monkey is. They don't know exactly what happened. They just know that Michael's not coming home the way that they had wanted him to come home. And it's so sad to know that the family is still suffering. And that the family has also got so much going on right now with Brandy being sick. With everything that's happened, the kids need their mom. Tyler and Brandy need each other every single day. They're worried sick about Brandy and her health. Please send Brandy prayers, Michael prayers. And then, even though it's hard, pray for the suspects. I believe that one of them has a heart and will come forward with some information. I hope and pray for that every single day. It may or may not happen. We're not going to stop. Monkey's army is not going to stop. We're going to be here till the very end. Until we know that indictments are put out, people are arrested, and people are behind bars for the abduction and murder of Michael Vaughn. Straight up, that's how long we're going to be here. We're going to support the Vaughn family and keep pressing forward. There was absolutely no reason for what happened to Monkey. The only way to describe it is there was monsters in that neighborhood when Michael wandered away from home. I want to thank you guys all so much for being here, for supporting me, for supporting the Vaughn family and Monkey. We're never going to give up. Hey, OG Nanny, thank you for coming in, hon. We're never going to stop. It's time. It's time for indictments. It's time for the DA to move forward. They're doing everything they can. they've got all this little stuff that they've got to finish doing, and then the indictments are coming out. So again, tip line 208-642-6006, or you can email findmichael@fruitland.org. I appreciate you guys all coming in. I've got some fried chicken sitting on the counter, and we're about to eat dinner. So thank you guys all so much for coming in, for supporting, and I'll see you on the next live. Not sure if I'm going live tomorrow or Wednesday, so make sure to hit the notification bell to get a notification about our next live. Hit that thumbs up on the way out. And if you haven't and you like what you see here, go ahead and become a member, or just subscribe, watch from the bushes. I don't care. Thank you guys all for being here.